Okay, welcome back, beautiful people. It is your girl.
Are you listening? Damn.
See, it's okay
Okay,
to start laughing.
no, but because people want to know what the joke was before. Okay, so this is day two of us having random chats, Stando, and I got a few things that I want to get off my chest. Okay, okay. Uh, here's the first thing that I want to get off my chest. I don't like. Okay, let's start with an anecdotal example.
All right.
Everyone who thinks that or anyone who's got access to a computer and has access to some form of advertising channel, whether it be an Instagram, a TikTok, or a podcast, thinks that in a certain way they are marketers. Okay. And I'm speaking specifically about people who want to sell you something but are selling the thing as an endpoint retailer. I'm talking about influencers. Okay, I'm talking about influencers. Okay, I'm talking
Thank
about influencers. And the reason that I've got a problem with influencers is because influencers are the result of accountants thinking that they can get involved in the marketing department. At some, that's my opinion. At some point, there was a there was a segmentation exercise that happened, and segmentation in our field has to do with a lot more than just you are 25 black living in Johannesburg with a degree.
you.
That used to be something. Those types of archetypes are so antiquated because if I were to just explain to you or just give you an example of a 45-year-old white woman that drives a Mercedes Benz, both the kids go to Saints and she works as an accountant somewhere, and ask you where does that person live? Chances are you're gonna guess Bryanston
Yeah.
or Santon or something like that. And that's what advertising used to be about in Mad Men days. And then eventually they started realizing that there's no more things like LSM, and we need to have a new metric of segmentation. And along with that came the granularity of outlying archetypes within advertising. So now that white lady I just spoke about could live next to a single black CA that instead of driving a Mercedes Benz drives a BMW and has no kids but has four fur babies and goes on holiday twice a year internationally. But you
Yeah.
can't sell to those people in the same way. And that's why you can't have something like broad based programmatic buying because they both live and work in Sandton and they're both going to see the same ads. And at some point, you need to segment them according to something differently. And that's where influencer marketing comes from. Influencer marketing comes from this place where let me get someone who looks like you to sell you something that I think you need so that I don't have to do this broad based advertising.
Ooh, actually, that's a take because we
I
assume
don't think that's a
that
take. I think that's a take.
because we assume that if you look like if they're following this influencer, they are most likely like that influencer in some way.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about my own digital consumption. A lot of the influencers or content creators that I watch and engage with are not necessarily like me, like demographically.
Now, no, 100%. Now, this is where the accountants got involved.
Mm,
Okay. At the beginning of influencer marketing, there was Kim Kardashian. There was uh I literally can't think of any others. But there was like I'm talking about the original level. And what
yeah.
happened was that was an aspirational level of influencer marketing that became personalized at scale. You didn't have to be watching a TV program and we all saw the same thing. Kim Kardashian wouldn't appear on my feed. She probably would appear on yours or my wife's feed.
Yeah.
And that's that personalization that happened. Then what happened was that became too expensive to do at every level. And then they start having the level of high tier influencers, mid tier, and micro influencers. And the micro influencers are basically the more bang for your buck advertising that accountants got involved in. So they don't look like you, but they fulfill the same behavioral ecosystem that you do. They behave the same way you do, whether physically or whether online. And as a result of the two of you behaving similarly, that's where we get the term lookalike audiences from. So we're not going to get an influencer that is exactly like you. We're going to pack you part of a lookalike segment and have a micro influencer or mid-tier influencer influence as many of those as possible and replicate that multiple times. So you'll see the same brand having 5 different types of influencers. That's not because the marketing agency is great. That's because the accountants realize if I split my ROI investment across 5 different portfolios, I have a greater chance of yielding some sort of incremental increase later on. And today, that's my problem, Tando. Just today, my problem is influencers today. Tomorrow, my problem may be something else.
I hear you. But now, okay, I get what you're saying because at the same time, though, on the other hand, we want to tap into. So we looked at, yes, there's demographics, but there's also psychographics and interests. So normally that approach is okay, let's go into a particular interest group and leverage whatever clout this content creator influencer has amongst that topic. I think maybe sometimes the issue there is the misalignment of what the product is with who the influencer is also. Because
Um,
my issue with
okay, yeah, so
influencers who participate in campaigns that they know they're not a fan of the brand or the brand does not align with them. And then they go into competitor brands also. And it's like, okay, now you're confusing your audience on a different level. And they start to lose trust with their audience because they've diluted their brand so much.
I mean, okay, so that's not really the part of a campaign that I would be involved in any way, because I feel like that's more conceptual and production side of it. I think the part that would affect me is if we were to create or if we were to look at the p value. So the p value is the propensity value of something. And let's take 3 different elements. Let's take something with a really long a propensity value, with a mid, and with a short here. So a long propensity value would be, let's say, buying a house.
Yeah.
And there are lifestyle influencers that are contracted by these property developers and these estate builders that show you what the lifestyle could be. When before you buy a house, you look at it for about 18 months. You don't look at it quickly. It's 18 months of research, planning, getting your financials ready. Then we look at something that's mid-tier. Let's say buying a car. The average P value for buying a car is 9 months. You think about it at the beginning of the year, you start researching, you test drive, you set out a different payment schedule, and eventually get your car. And let's think of something short term, like a piece of tech, so a cell phone or an iPad or something. That's reasonably quick because you need the thing, you know what you want, and you go and get it. If you look at the way that those things are influenced by these influencer types, the P value needs to have little breadcrumbs along the way for the entire journey of what you are trying to sell. However, influencer marketing runs very cyclical. So you're not going to have the same influencer influencing the same thing for 1 year. You can't. It's impossible. Because then it's not a tactical or a campaign based element. That's basically just following someone's Instagram. If you follow the same influencer for 1 year doing the same thing, that's basically just every day doing the same thing. And the mere fact of influencers existing as part of advertising psychology to change your opportunity cost, but them understanding that there's a time limit on that, shows you how that's more an accounting function than a marketing function. Because the accounting function would put that on a cost spend analysis that is exponential. because the longer a campaign goes on, the longer you need to get paid.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
so with, with each of those things, yes, you can have someone doing the new iPad, but that's only going to be for 1 or 2 posts,
Mhm.
because the cost benefit attached with the rest of the campaign at that level needs to be experiential, and you can't have influencers experiencing, because then you again at that point where you're just watching someone on the Instagram for a month at a time. It's got to be tactical, high impact, and it's got to be at or it, accounting in accounting sense. It's the reason that there's one post, because it makes sense in terms of an ROI, and it makes sense strategically when you're leading up to something. And I hate that, because influencers just come in there for 5 minutes or for 5 posts, get paid a lump sum of money, and then sell you something you have to live for, and then they get to move on to the next brand, like you say, which could even be a competitor.
Yeah. So is it the case here that influencers, if they're getting into these deals for these products that take a long time, right? Like you said, purchasing a home, purchasing a car, then they need to then lock themselves into a long-term contract for that journey so that they can facilitate. And I get what you're saying, because I'm thinking of cars, right? For example, I'm looking for a car, right? And there's an
Yeah.
influencer that I watch, a mommy influencer, and she took us through this journey of upgrading her Mercedes Benz. And I love a Mercedes Benz because I'm not I'm not here for the driving experience. I just want to be comfortable. I want the luxury of getting from A to B. So I watched this video and I was like, oh, this is so cool, da da da. And she loves the brand. I don't think it was a paid promotion, because she did not say it was a paid promotion, but it was just one video in a moment in time. It didn't kind of anchor me throughout my decision making process and getting to the point of purchasing a vehicle. It was a moment in time where she went to go test drive, and then, confirmed her, signed off on it, and then got the car. Would it then be of value for her to be on a long term brand building like deal, where it's not just the process of buying the car now in that instant, rather it be the journey that we track along the way? I don't know if that makes sense.
My problem is that I don't think influencers belong in marketing. That's
So you're
that's
saying
that's
get rid
that's
of the
that's where we're at. I'm saying get rid of influencers.
You don't see their value? Even for the short term, like the short journey, for a drink that I want to have with my friends versus maybe, clothing, apparel, even for those ones, you don't see value in adding them.
I don't, and I'll tell you why, because it's inauthentic.
Hmm.
It's inauthentic. You mentioned something, having a drink with my friends. Okay, having a drink with your friends. How authentic is it that you and 4 of your friends all saw 4 different influencers doing this thing, and then you decided, let's have this drink while we're together? How authentic is that? That 4 of you saw 4 different things, and it all changed your mind towards the same thing. How much better would it be if you saw an actual friend of yours, like an actual friend that you went to school with? If you saw that person doing something and you thought, you know what, that's actually true. And then everyone else that's ever seen her on Instagram or ever seen her out for lunch says, you know what, that's actually so tando. I would actually rather do that than seeing, is Minnie Dlamini still alive? Is she still a thing? Is she still a person? Like,
Hey, people are
no,
changing
it's,
things, man. Let's not go there.
okay, like, and then instead of having someone like that try and influence you, and then become the butt of the joke, because exactly what you're saying, now you are doing something that this person did as part of their job, and in their personal life they do something different. Which part are you influenced by? Because now you're behaving in the way that this person has suggested for you, only in a part of their lives, but you make that your entire social personality. I'm gonna do this and go here and eat that and drive that and wear that because they said so. They don't even do that. And in their personal life, they do something scandalous that gets them kicked off the account, but the brand already got the money from you. How authentic is that?
Yeah. But you
I'm
see,
just saying.
I get you. I get you in the sense, like, I definitely agree with the issue around influencers jumping onto campaigns that don't make sense for their brand. I completely agree with that. But I think there's also room for influencers that authentically connect if they know that whether or not this brand is going to call them, whether or not Coke calls or whoever calls, they're going to engage with that brand. They're going to buy their product. They've been showcasing that product in all their content anyway. Then there's room for partnership there.
Okay, but now you're talking about, okay, I agree with that. And then we're going into the space of, like, you've got influencers or people with lifetime brand deals. Like, for example, like Pierce Brosnan being the face of Omega when he was 007. So, that's different because there were so many contracts that locked him in place in form of where you can't wear a black suit or a tuxedo when he's not appearing as James Bond. He can't do this. He can't, like, at a certain point, the conversions of who you are and what you are need to come together. And if there's a misalignment there, then you have brand deals that fall apart because your spokesperson did something ridiculous. And I feel like that's more authentic. I think there's either one of two ways it can go, or it should go. It should go, and as much as I dislike what they do, Kim Kardashian is one level of influencer. It's like Kim K, Cristiano Ronaldo, um, like basically like charge $5 million for a post because then we know the brand is totally invested in you, or it needs to be my neighbor. Like, it's that's the only two things it is. It's either the absolute top of it or it's my neighbor, because I know a lot about this, bruh. Like, I know if he's being inauthentic, I can be like, why did you post that? You don't do that. Like, you don't cut your own grass. Why are you doing a thing for John Deere? You don't, like, I know the garden service you got. Don't lie to the people. Like, I feel like it needs to be those things. I think it could just be me and the fact that I've never bought anything because the influencer said so. I still haven't seen Avatar. There's things that I just won't do because it's
The,
hyped too much. Yeah, if the masses are doing it, I'm not gonna do it.
I
I
get
think that just maybe my personal opinion, but that's what I'm ranting about today. And I don't know what to call this rant. Should it be like Sunday Thursday? No, that's dumb. Or like something like that. Like once a week I'll just rant. I'll phone you and I'll just rant about things. The rest of the week I'll answer your questions and we can talk about stuff. But on a Thursday I just want to rant.
we'll pick a name. Maybe someone can help us with a name. Thursday Rants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm here for it. But I
Okay,
agree
I'm
with
done.
you
Is there
there.
anything else you want to chat about?
No, I just want to say I agree with you there that it needs to be
Okay,
a long-term brand building commitment that brands have with influencers, or they need to then go to people who genuinely, everyday people that genuinely love the product, because that's when it starts to show up authentically and it doesn't feel force-fitted. And we don't have incidents like on social media where people are complaining because they're like, hey, I saw this person promoting that brand last week. Now they're here, they're at this party for this brand.
exactly.
How, in what world? Yeah, I completely agree with that. And yeah, I get that one. In terms of rants, I don't have a rant for today. I'm choosing peace and not anger. Choosing peace.
Wow,
Eh,
for the first time.
Mother Ryan, people see me as a peaceful person. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're
Don't lie to the people. Um, okay, I think we're going on 20 minutes, and I think that's
talking
that's a
about.
good that's a good rant. That's a good rant time. Yeah. Okay, that was good. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest.
No,
Appreciate
you're
that.
welcome. You're gonna do this again tomorrow. And maybe more
Yeah, yeah.
focused.
We can, we can.
More focused. We're not ranting.
No, that's fine. We can do it tomorrow, and then I'll be decent, and you can ask questions from me.
Okay,
Okay,
no. Let's chat again tomorrow.
cool.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.